In this lesson, we are going to implement the functionality for creating records into our database. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the resources, views, layouts, app.blade.php, and on the navbar, we are going to add a link so that the user can click to visit a page for creating a to-do. So I'm going to duplicate this list item, and this is going to go to the create to-dos page. So this is going to be /new to-dos, which means our next step is to actually register this route. But let's verify that that link exists. So if I refresh, you can see we have a link that says create to-dos. So we're going to go to our routes file, which is the web.php, that's in the routes folder, and we're going to register that route. So route get, and this is going to be new to-dos. Remember, it has to be exactly the path that you provided right here. And we're going to say this should go to the to-dos controller at create method. So we'll go to our to-dos controller, which is in the app http controllers folder. Then here we're going to create a function called create. In this function, we simply want to return a view that the user is going to use to create a to-do. So this is going to be to-dos.create. So we would go to our to-dos folder and we would add a new view called create.blade.php. Since we want this to look exactly like our other templates, we are going to extend the main layout. So extends the layouts.app template. Then we're going to define a section called content and section. In this section called content, we are going to have a form. This form is going to have a form group. And let's talk about the fields we need. We need a field for the name, we need a field for the description, and we need a field for the completed. So the name field is going to be an input of type text. So I'm just going to give it a class of form control, and we want to make sure to give it a name of name. So if you come back to application and click on create to-dos, you can see that it renders that view right there, and we have that input. But we probably want to make this more beautiful. So let me just look at how we did this. First we have an h1 and then we have a div of role justify content center. So let's use the same format. So I'm going to have an h1, the text center that says create to-dos. And then we're going to have a div of role that justify content center. And here we're going to have a call md of 8, and I'll paste the form right there. So great, here's our form. So we probably want to give this a margin y of 5, and would like to put our form in a card. So this is going to be a card.card default, and then we're going to have a .card header, and this is going to be create new to do, and we're going to have a card body, and in the card body we're going to paste our form. Great. So let's give a placeholder to this field, and this is going to be name. And for the second one, we're going to have a form group, and this is going to be a text area dot form control, and we're going to make sure the name is description. So if we refresh this page, you can have the name and the description. Let's give the description a placeholder. Placeholder is going to be description. And we probably want to make this smaller. So rows and columns of 5. Great. So we have a name and we have a description field for our to do. Finally, all we need is a button that is going to be the submit button for this form. So here we're going to have a form group, and here I'll have a button success, and this is going to be saying create to do. If I refresh, great, that's our button. Probably want to have this button at the center so we can have text center on the form group. Great. So here's our form for creating a to-do. When the user types in the name and the user types in the description and the user clicks on create to-do, then automatically a new to-do should be created in the database for the to-dos table. And when we come to view all to-dos, we should see the newly created to-do right here. So how do we make this happen? First of all, we need to make sure that this form is of method post so that it makes a post request to the server. Second, we need to specify the action, which is the URL that is going to handle this request. In this case, we are going to add create to do, or maybe store to do's. Okay, it could be anything, but in our routes file, we have to make sure we define a route with this path. So in our routes file, we're going to say routes, and in this case, since we are making a post request to send data to our server, we're going to use the post route static method. Then we're going to direct this to the to-dos controller at store method. Remember, this route is used to display the form for creating a to-do, and this route is a post route that is used to actually save the to-do to the database. So to display the form, we use the create method. To actually save the to-do to the database, we use the store method. So let's go to the to-dos controller and create the store method, public function store. Now, if we come back to our create.blade.php, make sure that you have a name on these input fields, because that's the only way this data is going to go to the server. And one more thing we want to do probably is to give this a type of submit so that it submits the form. So let's go ahead to our to-dos controller, and I'm going to use the die-dom function, and I'll call a function called request. Okay, now we're going to talk about this in a second, but for now I'm just going to refresh this page, type in the name of a to-do, drive the car, and this is going to be drive the car to the mechanic, and I'm going to click on create to do. And what do we see? We see a 419 error that says your session has expired, please refresh and try again. Now this is a really popular error that you're going to see in your applications, and the reason behind this is because Laravel automatically has cross-site request forgery protection. This is a token that you have to send every time you're making a post request or a patch request or a delete request to your Laravel server. This is protection to make sure that the post, put, or delete request is not coming from an external source. To provide that token, we need to come to all forms that we create in Laravel and make sure that we provide a directive called @csrf. And let me show you what that's going to do. If we go back to our form right now and refresh, and we view the page source, you can see that right now in our form, we have this input right here which is hidden, and the value is a token. And this token is a secret token that Laravel is going to check on the server side to make sure that it actually is coming from our website. Okay, basic CSRF protection provided by Laravel by default. So now if we put in drive the car and put in drive the car to the mechanic and click on create to do, what we have now is a request object, and this is the die-dom we placed in the controller. So when we clicked on that, it made a post request to the store to-dos endpoint, and in our web.php we said the store to-dos endpoint should be handled by the to-dos controller store method, and in our to-dos controller store method we die-domed a function called request. And this request object is going to give us an instance of the current request that the user made to the server. If we want to see all the data that the user sent from the client, which is from the form, we can do request all. And if I refresh this right now, you can see that request all gives us the name, the description, and the hidden token for Laravel's verification. So we can get this name, we can get this description, and we can use that to save a new to-do to the database. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new variable called data, and this is going to be request all. And this data now contains all of the data coming from the client side. Then we are going to create a to-do. So we're going to say to-do is going to be equal to new to-do. And this is a new to-do model. Next, we are going to say the to-do name should be equal to data name property. Then the to-do description is going to be equal to data description property. Notice that this is what is coming from the form, and this is our model itself. So we created a new instance of the model, and we assigned a name property which is going to correspond to the name field in our database table, and we assigned a description property which is going to represent the description field in our database table. Next, to save this, we're going to call the save method, and this is going to make a database query to save that to-do to the database. Then we are going to redirect the user back to the page to view a list of to-dos. So we're going to return redirect, and we're going to pass in the to-dos path right here, which means after saving a new to-do, we redirect the user to this page. So let's go ahead and try this. Click on continue, and we have an error that says general error, field completed doesn't have a default value. And that is because we have saved a value for the name, we have saved a value for the description, but we've not saved a value for the completed field. So in this case, we're going to say to do completed is going to be equal to false by default. So let's try submitting again. And now everything goes well, and you can see our to-do right here has been added to the list. And remember, this list fetches all the to-dos from the database. If we check our database directly, refresh, you can see our to-do right here is appended at the end. This is awesome. So if we view our to-do, you can see the ID is 6, and we can see the details of the to-do that we created. Let's create another one. If we go ahead and create a to-do, maybe Model, and we could just paste in some dummy content for mowing the lawn. And if I click on create to do, you can see it creates the to do and it redirects us back to this page, Model, and we can click on view and we're going to see the description. Alright, so in this lesson we learned how we can create data into our database using our model. So you create a new instance, and then you create or assign properties for that instance using the data you got from the form. So to-do name is going to be equal to the data we got from the form, and it's going to get the name key. The description is going to be the description, and the completed is going to be initialized to false. And then we use the save method to persist these values to the database. Then we redirect the user back to the to-dos page. Alright, so I hope that was fun for you as much as it was for me, and I'll catch you up in the very next lesson where we're going to learn some more cool stuff.